Hi, I'm Abby, this is my dad, and this is my sister Rebecca, and today we're making kale chips.
Yummy, yummy kale chips. Do we like kale chips?
Yes.
It's been a while since we've had kale chips.
Yeah, so I honestly can't remember.
Right, I'm just looking over at our four-legged assistant who just ran up the stairs. She's not part of today's video, but Kale is. Now, Kale's got a bad rap. A lot of people are like, I don't like kale. So I find there's two good ways to eat kale, and kale is three.
Green smoothies.
Three. So we've got smoothies, which we've covered nicely. The other kind of, more traditional, maybe less exciting, is if you take the kale and you massage it, you break up those fibers and it makes it nicer in a salad. Obviously you could cook with it anywhere that you make, anywhere that you use spinach, kale often works in there. But I think my favorite way to make them is as chips. Now chips, you think deep fried or whatever. No, we put a little bit of olive oil on them, a little bit of salt, which is kind of optional, but I feel, maybe a little necessary. And today we're also gonna try with nutritional yeast. So Rebecca asked me, won't they grow? So it's actually not that kind of yeast. Well, it is and it isn't. Yeast that we add to bread makes it rise. The yeast we're using is dead. What are you guys looking at? I got your names wrong, didn't I?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Couldn't get anything out until we got that done. So, back to kale chips. Super easy. There's really no recipe. You just need a bunch of kale, high oven, 400 degrees Fahrenheit. We're gonna devein them. We're gonna add some olive oil, we're gonna add some salt, and then to half of them, we're gonna add some nutritional yeast. That's it. There's no need to go.
How do we know the difference between them?
Of which ones have nutritional yeast and which ones don't.
I don't know. We'll separate them on the tray so that we know which ones are which. Sound good?
Oh, we can put one of the stock thingies in the middle, so we know, and we're like, okay, so if there's
I got
one,
another question. What does it matter? Shall we get started?
That's my slant.
So we are ready to devein, and Abby thought I meant taking out all the veins. No, there's just like this big stick one in the middle. That one, not so tasty. That one we don't want. So I'm gonna ask you to scoot a little bit. So if we look at these two, we can very much see that there's kind of like, depends on the kale you're getting. Some of it's more closed, some of it's more open. And the back is kind of exposed here versus trying to find it there. So what we wanna do is put it so that we can clearly see the spine on the back. Then we've got these little guys up here. Those are fine. We can cut those off and keep them. Then we're gonna go up against the spine. And when you get to the top, right, it's a bit like a tree. Eventually it just turns into a leaf. So kind of use your best judgment. That common sense thing that's in short supply. And you can either go right up the top or sometimes you can get a little bit of that leaf and keep it in there, kind of like I did on this one. And then you're left with this guy, which we're not going to eat. You got some little guys there that turn into yummy crispy ones. You're left with relatively big pieces here. They're not really that big. You could leave them that big. It's easier just to cut them in half. And then you end up with, you're looking for bite size, right? Like, do you want to eat something that big? Maybe not, so break it in half. Maybe you do, so leave it up to you. Sound good, ladies?
Yeah.
But also, if you find them too big while you're eating them, can't you also cut them?
You can just take a bite, right? Who says you got to stick the whole thing in your mouth, right? No need to be piggish.
Thank you.
Cut away.
Cut up your kales. And what are we going to do with our fingers? We're going to chop
cut
them
them
off,
off.
right?
Cut them off.
Good job.
Cut them off.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You can hold it wherever it makes sense. That's even a safer way to hold it. And so when you were pulling your knife through, they kind of tore a little bit. That's all good. It's no big deal.
I didn't realize that.
There you go.
Yeah.
You got a little left on your stem. Yeah, we're just going to put ours all in the bowl once they're clean and good.
You don't even have to cut them. You can just rip them.
You can absolutely just rip them. In fact, some would say ripping lettuce and kale is better than not because it rips naturally along its vines and in theory lasts longer. I don't know if that's true. So we're gonna finish up these and then we will come back with the incredibly difficult step of putting oil on them.
That's difficult.
No. Ta-da! Giant bowl of kale. So as I said with the salad, right? Like just giving it a little tender smushy. A nice warm hug. Breaks up some of those fibers. Not that we really need to do it here. We'll get it out of the bowl. Abigail, could you add all that oil? So we have probably about a tablespoon of olive oil here. That's about all we really need. And there's gonna be some left in the bowl, so you know what we can do? Yeah! Girl of my own heart. Don't want to waste any olive oil. It's very tasty. Our poor puppy is trying to figure out how to get out of the kitchen and she can't. Wah, wah, wah. So, all right, we don't need to get every last drop. Come on. So then we just kind of toss this up, get everything slightly coated here. If you feel you need more oil, you go ahead, add more oil. If you feel you need a little less oil, that is also acceptable.
You can't remove it once it's in there.
You cannot remove it once it's in there, so always start off a little on the light side. I feel like we need a little bit more oil here. Abs, you want to reach over that, get that oil there? Da-da-da-da-da-da. So we'll add a little bit more.
That seems like a lot.
You know,
That's not a little.
everybody always says that, but really, it's a little reduced flow head. Not much comes out at the same time. So, done and done.
Shiny.
Here's what I recommend. Dump it all out on a cookie sheet. Now, we've got a lot of kale here. So much that it's kind of bunched on top of each other. What you're looking for is a single layer so that it gets nice and crispy. So back to your earlier question of how are we gonna know which ones are which? We're gonna do 2 batches because we had so much. You know what's great about 2 batches of kale chips?
You get more.
Twice as many kale chips. You wanna sprinkle some salt on top of that?
Well, technically it wouldn't be twice as more because if you just put it all in the same tray, it would be the same.
Technically, can you put some salt on that, please?
Yes.
So, a little sprinkle action. We all want to get on in it. Get on in it. Get on.
Get on with it.
Get on with it. There we go. The other thing that I would say is we don't have to be like Mr. Salt Guy all the way up here, but higher up does always make a difference because when you're down here, you know what piece you got your salt on? That one. When you're up here, you know what pieces got salt on? A whole bunch of them.
We're gonna waste all our salt on this.
No, we're gonna use about half of it, right? Because we're gonna put salt on both of them. And then you can also just kind of toss it a little more once it's up here. Then again, single layer, right? I know late in the day, giggly action, but that's okay. Single layer in the oven, 400 degrees Fahrenheit. How long? Again, kind of depends on your oven, kind of depends on the kale. Some of it's got more moisture, depends on the size. I would say watch it after 5 minutes, take a look, and I wouldn't say it's more than 10 minutes, but again, it may depend based on your kale. What you're looking for is kind of like some bit of char, a little crispy, and again, you can just kind of touch it and you'll hear it crackling in the oven. It's very nice. All right, good to go?
Yeah.
Yep.
So our kale chips are out of the oven, they're all done. 2 things to note. Well, one, actually, we put the yeast and salt on the other batch in between while we were, doing TikTok dances. And then the other thing to note is that, yes, absolutely, they were really crowded at the beginning, but something I forgot is they shrink quite a bit. Now, I'd still say, keep their little distances apart because I think ultimately you get a drier trip, which is what we want, but it does shrink down quite a bit. So, ladies, there's only one thing left to do.
Eat. I'm gonna take some of the kale.
These are what, kale and salt?
Does it good?
Here, let me get a. No, your mic.
Oh.
Ooh, wow. We put a little bit extra salt on the salty ones.
That one's chewy.
Salt is really good.
I just have a really chewy one.
You got a chewy one? You didn't get one that was that dry?
No. I'm tasting the other bit.
No difference, honestly.
So the nutritional yeast will kind of, like some people describe it as a bit of like.
I taste the difference. There's more salt on this one.
Some people describe it as a bit of a nutty taste. Some people think it's kind of like a Parmesan. Something that we should have mentioned from the beginning is that we chose to put nutritional yeast and salt. Any seasoning you have, right? You want some salt and pepper on there. You want some Parmesan on there. Anything that's going to survive the high heat. We also cranked the temperature up to 450, and these took like 6 minutes to get perfect at that temperature. Wow! Lower temperature, longer time, they may dehydrate a little more and you'd have less crispy ones, but ultimately, great, nice snack. I would not put these in a bag. I would put them in a paper bag, because if you put them in a Ziploc bag, that moisture that's still lifting some of them makes them all go soggy, and that's kind of gross.
But I noticed
Like
that
this
these.
is a bit soggy.
The veins are a little soggy.
This has a little more salt. I just had.
You got a little something there. So,
Before-
wait, what? Look at me
before-
trying to wrap up.
Before I had a piece that was very, very.
Very salty. And was that good? Did you enjoy that?
No.
No?
I like the saltiness.
Where can people find us?
CookingWithAbbey.com.
Where else can they find you?
Instagram, Facebook, and if you want to see more of our videos, you hit the subscribe button and that little notification bell thingy that rings.
Ringy dingy dingy. When should we see these guys next?
Next week.
A big commitment. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Enjoy your kale chips. They're really good.
Okay.
Who's it?
Can I chop some of the trail?
Some of the
Chill.
Chill.
chail?
Yeah, ew. When
You
we
can
find out
totally
what it
chop the
exists.
chail.